views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome, good people of the Bronx and beyond. My name is Henry Ovalles, and I'm your host for Life in Art. On this show, we will bring you engaging and personal conversations with artists with whom you may not be familiar, people who have been working on their craft for at least a decade and are at a crossroads where passion meets necessity. We'll discuss creativity and inspiration with our guest artists, but also find out what it takes to balance the struggles of practical life while pursuing their passions. Our guests today are a talented husband and wife duo, poets, producers, and community activists. They have both together and individually created art through words, engaging audiences to think and feel more deeply. They are the founders of ElKat Productions, an independent artist production company. Today we learn about David and Katalina Rodriguez's life in art.
Closed eyes in the mirror, blind hypocrites. I can't understand brown and black homophobics, already homophobic. But our people's history is flooded with the same hate that they stay inflicting. When a man loves a woman, when a man loves a man, when a woman loves a woman, ain't it all the same thing? Ain't we all human beings? Don't we all feel pain? Don't we all want peace and to be treated the same? Now you don't want to be judged, but got your hand on the gavel. Demigods quoting verses from the scripture, I don't babble. Self-righteous laws from a regla forced on us. Same book used to tell us that our people are cursed. Brown ancestors regarded homosexuals blessed, and many gay and lesbian African gods exist. Judging people by their sexual preference is dumb. How the hell you judge a people on who they born to love?
Well, it's so hard to love. There's so much to hate. Holding on to hope when there is no hope to speak of, and the wounded skies above say it's much too late. Closed eyes and broken mirrors, we should pray for time.
Closed eyes in the mirror, broken glass, eyes everywhere, too afraid to glance, too afraid to see, eyes that you hate, staring back deep, tears down the face, look, see blood all around, another innocent victim, man down, blind, ignorance, hate and lies, real talk, maybe we should all be praying for time.
And here we are in the studio with David and Katalina Rodriguez. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. So you're the first husband and wife duo that we've had on the show, the first duo in general, actually.
Nice.
So we're going to switch it up a little bit as to how we go. We like to start at the beginning where you were born, where you grew up, and things of that nature. So let's go ladies first, Katalina.
Great. Well, I'm born and raised in Chicago. I've been in New York since 2003, and just always, from the first time I came to New York, fell in love New York very much. The energy and the artistry and the culture. As far as when I started writing, I've always wrote since I was a little girl. Started by writing a lot of stories of these porcelain dolls my mother used to buy me. So,
really?
Yeah. You know, some people get creeped out by them, but I just always loved them, and then I just always created like different stories for each of them. And as far as poetry is concerned, I think I just always did it maybe in high school a little bit, and dabbled, but not seriously until I started the Sunday Writing Circle, which is a collective of writers here in the Bronx. It's under the umbrella of Full Circle Ensemble, and with them I really grew a lot in my writing, and so that's pretty much like my history in writing.
Sure. And as far as, let's talk a little bit about just your family life as you were growing up. Any siblings?
Yes, I'm the youngest of three. Both my parents of Mexican descent. They came over probably in like the early 70s, and
to Chicago.
To Chicago, straight to Chicago. So dealing with the cold weather was something new for them too.
Oh, right.
But yeah, the relationship with my family is great. I love them dearly, and it's hard sometimes now being so far away from them. But we visit often.
I see.
But yeah, within the household, they really nurtured creativity. I also played the French horn growing up and was in choir, so they always pushed me to be in the arts and express myself in that way.
And as far as your siblings, are they involved in the arts at all?
Well, I think they dabbled in their own way as far as my brother used to draw a lot. My sister used to like to sing a lot, but they kind of taken their own paths in different ways. So I think as far as the way I've made art in my life has been much more of an impact for me than them.
I see. Mm-hmm. And El David, what's your backstory?
My parents are from Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. I'm from here, from the Bronx.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up right across the street from Jane Addams.
Mm-hmm.
I started writing. I've always written, but in high school is when I met P.D. Thomas. And P.D. Thomas came to our school, and there was an essay, like a contest, and I wrote a story. It wasn't a happy story. It was guy dies at the end, but he loved the story.
And how old were you with the story? Would this be high school
15
or
16, something? Yeah,
okay.
Something like that. And he came up to me and said, "Don't you ever stop writing? You're gonna be a writer."
Wow.
And that was when I was like, really? And I've been writing ever since then. My poetry actually got inspired by a funkadelic song called "The Doo-Doo Chasers," with George Clinton, and it's a eclectic poem in the album behind some funk music, and that was it for me. Once I heard that, I got it. I was very.
That's the one that sort of turned the light on.
Yeah, it was very political, and I was very young. That song, that album was like in '79 or something like that. So that turned me on to politics right away. I started seeing just that song, which is very cryptic, but once you listen to it, it's a message about everything that's wrong in this society, in American society.
So from a young age, that's something that sort of spoke to you as far as with writing and using writing within activism as well. Right. And as far as your family history, any siblings, parents still around?
Yeah, my parents are around. There's no one. My brother used to. We were signed with RCA Records in 1996, and I took my brother in with me. He used to rap with me. I didn't like the business. I'm a big hippie at heart, so we dropped out of that situation. I shouldn't have even said their names.
It's okay.
But yeah, it's right.
Sort of the corporate side of it just didn't mesh with you.
It was not only the corporate, but you lose yourself, you lose who you are. Like, they wanted to change our names, they wanted to change our age, they wanted to tell us. I was a very political writer, and they made us do a song called "Don't Worry, Be Happy," which is actually, now that I'm older, I like that song. I would do it now.
But at the time,
I was like, yeah, I'm not happy right now.
Right. There's stuff going on, and it needs to be spoken about.
Yes.
And how did the two of you come to meet?
Well, when I moved to New York, my first job is where I met El, and we were great friends for many years before we even started dating. But it was, I think, what makes us work so well is that we have this foundation of we have a passion of music and creating. So when we first met, it was me working as the manager of his new group he was putting together, and which what later became Machete Movement. So it was just us sharing that passion of music, art, creating music, and music with a message, really. So yeah, we met in 2003, and we've been married now 2 years.
Oh, great.
So yeah, and I guess it's all history, and the family's growing. Yes, definitely.
Fantastic. And for the both of you, was it writing first and then music? Or for you, El David, did it sort of always go together, hand in hand?
I wrote first. I always wrote. I mean, as a kid, I used to wake up and write my dreams down. So it was writing first. Then it was really activism, and I was working with the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. My mentor was Richie Perez and Panama Alba, two of the I would say board members of the Young Lords at the time.
Right.
And they started the National Congress of Puerto Rican Rights. And they took on a lot of young Black and Latino youths and started to teach them how to work in the political aspect of protests and demonstrations. And I organized a lot of demonstrations that came out positive. We got one child who was taken away from their parents.
Right.
Without proper investigating the parents at all, just on the word of the officers. We got the child to go back to those parents. And that was one of the things that I was very proud of. It was even in the newspaper. And
right, so you could actually see your work, you know, giving benefit to the community. So I'm really fascinated by that, and I want to dig deeper into that. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be back with more of A Life in Art when we return.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic. Many of the future doctors who will care for us, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country, can be your kids. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education.
Teachers today are finding new ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable.
Welcome back to A Life in Art. We're here with poets and producers David and Katalina Rodriguez. So you had mentioned sort of your involvement with the Black Panthers and the Young Lord movement, and that's not something that we could just sort of just mention and let it go. So I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that. And you know, you talked about how you were able to see the fruits of your labor by helping a child sort of get back to his family, correct? So how did you get involved with that, and how did that mix in with your art? And tell me a little bit about that history.
Like I said, it was when I met Richie Perez in Panama Alba, and then our brother Shep from the Black Panther Party. I actually brought a bunch of leaders and street organizations together to meet in Jersey in a warehouse, and we came up with the name the United Families Coalition. We wanted all the activists. Al Sharpton's organization was there, the National Action Network, Black Panthers. We even had an officer there who Bendito got yelled at through the whole, the whole thing. Yeah,
he was there trying to help, but
he was trying to be a nice guy, but nobody was trying to. You know, they were angry. That was the time when Anthony Baez was killed, and we were out there every day in the courthouse, sometimes overnight, just waiting. I passed out one day because out of dehydration at the Anthony Baez protest, because we were just there so long without drinking or eating. So nobody wanted to hear an officer speak at this thing, but. Yes, it was that, and then we started. We got a lot of organizations to come together, and I like to feel good about doing that. I'm the one who organized that, put that together, got everybody to come together, and it ended up coming not just not just activist organizations, but street organizations like La West Side Familia, Zulu Nation, Alianza Islamica, which is an Islamic religious organization. A lot of organizations came together and realized, you know, on the streets, a lot of these people are against each other. Religions are against each other. Races, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans are like, oh, well, I'm better than you. Yeah. So, you know, it was good to get everybody together and say, you know what, we all have the same struggle.
Right.
You know, so we started from there. That's where I did when I wrote my first book in 2003. It was total social justice in there. It was just, it was just birthed out of that experience with Richie Perez and Panama Alba. Right. I give a lot of credit to everything I've done to them.
Right. And Catalina, as far as, you know, I can tell community activism and political activism is very important to you as well.
Definitely.
At what point did you start digging into that part of your life?
Well, growing up, I didn't really get a chance to be exposed to these types of groups as Elle did, but in my family, a lot of my uncles and aunts that live in California, they were working in the farms, you know. Right. And so from a young age, I remember my mother saying, okay, we're not going to eat grapes anymore because, you know, we're protesting against what the treatment they're experiencing in California. So, you know, I remember very young feeling like empowered to like do my little part, you know?
Yeah.
And so just moving forward, that's always been something super important to me, that whether it's on immigration issues, and later, you know, we ended up actually putting together a charity album to benefit an organization called No More Deaths. It's an organization that is based in southern Arizona, and they provide all types of aid to people crossing the border, like medical aid, food, some legal representation, because there's a lot of abuse that happens once they become detained. So it's just, for me, I feel like art and community activism go hand in hand. You know, you can use this one voice to really spread a message, and also, you know, in the ways that we decided to was raise money and then donate and help organizations that are really on the border doing the work, because even though we're far away from the border, you know, you might not, out of sight, out of mind, but these things are really happening. So like the fact that we can come back and really give back and do something for those specific causes really has helped, you know, feed my soul. Like for me, it's always been those specific issues, whether it's farm worker rights or immigration. For me, those have been my big issues growing up.
That's really fantastic, and
Yeah.
thank you both for doing that work and for expressing that. And I think, yeah, if we look historically, art has always been at the center of manifestations like that.
Yep.
I mean, we could go as recently as in Guatemala, you know, a couple of weeks ago, the president there, because of now social media, but also, you know, words and activism, there, you know, has been now kicked out of office and was arrested, which, you know, you don't see in a lot of our Latin American countries. Corruption sometimes just is rampant, and nothing is done about it, and we sort of throw our hands up in the air and say, oh, that's the way it's always going to be.
Exactly.
But it's amazing to have people that do care and do want to change things, and when it works, it's just really so satisfying and so nourishing to the soul, as you say.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, sometimes also you can get in hot water with situations like that. Am
Definitely.
I correct, El David? Did I hear that during a previous presidential administration, you had some folks talk to you about some of the work that you were doing?
Talk to me. I've had a lot of situations. I put it this way: once at one point I was detained to a chair, to like a children's chair for 16 hours. I had one of the best criminal attorneys in the country, because he was he represented the Black Panthers at the time when they in the 60s.
Right.
And he took my case on for free.
And at the time that you were detained, what year are we talking about here?
In the 90s, I'm not sure exactly what year, but he when I got out, he was like, I was like, I want to sue them. He was like, I got you out. Be happy with that. He's like, it's not gonna get far. But yeah, it's I spoke against the statue that was on 59th Street also, Columbus Circle.
Yes.
In a speech, and I said that statue shouldn't be there, and I said metaphorically, that statue should be blown up. So that was also something that got me in hot water.
Oh, I see. They heard the words blown up and already started associating.
They came, they grabbed me, picked me up, and you know, I always joke because they brought me pizza, and I was really hungry, and I wanted to eat it. And then eventually I had a slice. And it's like,
you resisted for a while?
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, you know what, I kind of sold out for a second. But I did it like with anger. I'm going to have this slice pizza because I want it.
Never has a slice of pizza been bitten into or chewed on with more strength and vigor.
But you know, I actually, as I got older, you know, I decided to do more of the fighting with the writing and the music.
Right.
Because like, I met this beautiful lady, and I, you know, although we do fight, like, you know, Macklemore has a song called Same Love. And way before he did that, we did something called Closed Eyes, which was a song about, in defense of the gay community and against the gay bashing and the violence and discrimination against gay people.
Right.
Of course, his is going to be played everywhere, and ours isn't. But we put that out a while ago, and I mean, I love that song too. But
well, I look forward to listening to your song, and hopefully our viewers will as well.
But
so
that was the first thing we did as
together,
together,
really?
like was that, and that was the first thing she wanted to do. She wanted to do something for that community, And
Right.
yeah.
So let's actually take a quick break, and in our next segment, I want to dig deeper into the things that you guys have been doing, like El Machete movement and Smoke and Drum, and everything that's going on and what's in the future. So we'll be right back after this.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic.
That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids.
We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone.
And every day more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education.
HSF.net.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
And we're back on the Life and Art with ElKat Productions. So we've talked about some things that I feel like we've still just scratched the surface, and I want to know about your artistic endeavors such as El Machete movement, Spoken Word and Drum, ElKat Productions. So I know I'm sort of just throwing it all out at you at once, but if you want to just sort of briefly talk to me about each of those things and what they are and what they mean to you and to the community.
Sure. Wow. So I think we started really with Machete movement, because like I said, when we first met, I was managing the group. And Machete movement was really like a creation of El's. So if you want to speak more on why you wanted to put it together.
Yeah, in my religion, I have a padrino, Ocha, and he was Tito Cepeda. He's a Grammy-nominated drummer, percussionist from the Pleneros de la 21. And he taught me about bomba. And in bomba, I loved hip hop, and when I first saw the bomba played, it was so similar to hip hop because you had 3 drums. One of them played a rhythm that the dancer had to try to match, which was a lot like the DJ scratch in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
And the break dancers would try to, they would really, well, I would too, because I was doing that. They would try to match that scratch. And then there was a lead singer, and it was very off key. It was very like B flat, like the old hip hop rappers when they would do melodic tunes, but flat. And I fell in love with it right away, but I wanted to fuse the two together, hip hop, spoken word, and bomba. So I did an album with a couple of drummers called Familia H. And it was received well, but people were still not ready for that. And then when we got together, I told her my idea, my dream. She said, let's do it. And we did it, and then we got together, we put the group together. After I got the group together, for a minute, we called ourselves Machete Ron.
Okay.
It started Machete movement, and then we changed it to that. And then when I fired those guys, we went back to Machete movement.
Okay.
And the thing is, like with ElKat Productions, we wanted to keep, she created a model which embodied everything we believe in, which is staying true to what moves the heart and soul. Meaning we would never do this for money, even though we got paid at times. We would always give back, and we would always bring people in under the company and in the group that believed in the music and not just what comes from it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the main.
Celebrate the artistry, really.
Yeah.
Like, I think sometimes, you know, we joke like, oh, when we changed members in group, but to some people, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, like they want to, this is their only form of income or something, then it's understandable. But when it's something we're doing more of passion, and you know, thank God, you know, we do have work that we rely on for income. This is something that's more of a passion and artist-driven project. So we like to attract that type of member as well that wants to further just their artistry versus like fame and fortune.
No, of course. I mean, yeah, the intersection of art and commerce is always you know, difficult to navigate. So if you don't mind me asking, some of the things that we like to talk on the show is how do you subsidize your art? How can you, you know, what are the survival jobs? So how is it that you're able to do what you do? What's the side job or the main job that allows you to do, you know, the passion projects?
I'm an attorney, so I mainly, well, my 9 to 5 is I work in corporate America, but I am venturing off to start my own practice as well, and that would focus more on startup companies, helping startup companies, helping not-for-profit companies. So I'm doing a little bit of that as well, just to kind of transition my way to my own practice, as well as like representing artists and representing on the entertainment side and authors and that's and really advocating for those artist type rights. So that's how I'm able to continue feeding you know, my soul, doing the artistry stuff that might not, you know, pay the rent, but you know, it's something, you know, whatever gets made out of it, we try to really give back and think of different ways, philanthropic ways to give back to the community.
Yes. And I see, I mean, a great synergy between the two of you as we're conversing here, but sometimes when two people with artistic minds are together, there can be friction. Is that something that you deal with on a regular basis, or are you able to sort of even it out most of the time?
You know, the thing is, like, I've never met anyone, not even just regular partners, that I am so cohesive with as her. We might have disagreements, and then she'll do this face.
And then you know.
And I know that to leave it alone, and we'll discuss later. But yeah, we're both creative, and we don't always have the same idea. But the good thing about us is, I mean, wow, we really believe in the same things. And like, I've been in this for a long time. I started in '98, so for me, I've seen this poetry community for many years, and I've never seen, and I'm not trying to brag, but I've never seen a couple last in this and work so well together and do everything together as we do. I was very inspired by Alex Lasalle and Manuela of the Bomba community. They're from, I forgot the name of their group, isn't that horrible? Alma Moyo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And very talented.
They're very talented. They're a couple that I see that are just like us. They're always together, and every time they're different genres, but I love that they are together as partners in everything that they do. She has a legacy project where she works with women, and he's there every time she's doing something. I'm like joined at the hip with her. So like, you know, I'm worried because I've never done any event without her, and now she's pregnant, and it's gonna be.
Comes.
So I took December off.
Well, and we'll see what happens now when your child arrives and how you incorporate, you know, the baby into your lives.
Well, it is like we have an underlying understanding of what we like to do, and so, you know, whether there's disagreements or not, it's just, as long as you're coming from the same core, you always go back to center. So
that's beautiful. I think that's actually a great way to end our interview. I wish, you know, we could go a little bit more, but we've run out of time as always. I want to thank David and Katalina for sharing their life and art with us. And if you want to learn more about their upcoming events and projects, you can visit them at elkatproductions.com. Of course, we also want to encourage you to connect with us on social media. Visit us on Facebook and YouTube at A Life in Art, and Instagram and Twitter at A Life in Art TV. Thank you to all of you for joining us today, and we'll be back with more stories from emerging artists when we return with A Life in Art.